attitude need be voiced. Your mind speaks to us.
Welcome everyone to Kiss Meets the Podcast 4K, the Crazy Kiss Countdown. I am one of your hosts, Eli Clausen.
Yep, I'm gluten-free chocolate chip banana bread.
Tossing the food. I'd toss mine, but I'd make a mess. But
True.
So, back with us finally. It's been forever. RJ Jordan, what is going on, man? It's been forever.
Hey, we were just kind of talking off camera. I guess I should probably mention it. I was in Nashville for the ill-fated Vinnie Vincent show that did not happen. Had to be there for business, had the hotel, had the airfare, so I wasn't really out anything except for the concert tickets, which I'm told they are going to refund. I'm still waiting.
Yes.
But the good news was I did get a dose of Kiss that weekend. I'm wearing a rock and roll residency t-shirt. Those of you who are familiar with the guys in this group, they used to play every Tuesday night at Mercy Lounge in Nashville with a bunch of special guests because there are so many noted rock players who live in Nashville now. And anyway, the three guys that are the heart of the residency, Jeremy, Philip, and Ryan, those names might be familiar because they spent last year playing a Gene Simmons solo band. And, of course, now they are part of the Ace Frehley band. So, obviously Ace Frehley and Gene were not there, but it was a benefit for Jeremy, one of the guitar players who amassed some medical bills due to diabetes. Happened over holidays. I guess he was in between his medical coverage, and so the whole rock community came together, and there was plenty of Kiss items auctioned off. I didn't win any, but it was cool just to go through the room with all the items and see the Iceman guitar and see the prototype of the new, Les Paul. And, I hope a guitar like that makes it into the hands of Ace sooner or later. But it was just a lot of autographed items and a lot of people talking about a lot of Kiss all day long. So
that's always what makes it fun right there, is just talking to people. That's an experience in itself. It sucks that unfortunately the thing with Vinny happened, and as we're filming this on March 1st, you're a week away, a week from the date you were supposed to get your refund already. So
about 2 weeks now.
2 weeks now. Okay, well, let's hope by the time this goes up or see you again that you've gotten your refund by then.
I'm hoping. I bought 2 tickets, so we're talking $80.
2 tickets to paradise. There you go. I wasn't even aware of the medical situation. I don't recall seeing anything pop up, and thanks for bringing that up. But glad it went well. I hope it definitely helped him out paying some bills. And popped in. RJ was doing a live broadcast on Facebook, doing his radio show. God, this has probably been a month or so ago now. Popped in on that, kind of seeing what it was all about. That was good stuff.
Thanks, man.
Once again, tell everyone what the radio station is. It's
villageradio.net. You can go to the website. It will stream on any browser and on any phone. Plus, I have a variety of apps, and if you prefer to use TuneIn, you already have TuneIn on your phone, or there's plenty of different aggregating apps. You can go to the website, and it'll tell you all the ways to listen. We basically play everything from the 1980s. You get your rock and roll, you get your new wave, you get your punk and your pop and your rock, and we try to do it with a worldwide perspective. So if you're listening from England, you hear some big British hits. If you're listening from Australia, some records that were big in Australia, and so forth. Have a lot of listeners in Germany for some reason. So we have a lot of fun with it, and our disc jockeys are from all over the globe. So in the mornings, it's a host from England. We have somebody from Ireland and Australia, and then I hold down afternoons and also late nights from 3 to 6 in the morning. So,
wow, yeah, it's definitely a fun listen. Even visually. I mean, he doesn't sit down. He's bouncing all over the studio and just having a good time, man. It was fun to watch and be a part of. So. All right, so this week is a live for the Symphony. Wow, very interesting. I know I put in the DVD earlier today just to refresh myself, give it another watch, and listen. It's not my favorite of the whole Alive series, that's for sure. Not even really my favorite Kiss performance on DVD or video per se, but it is a cool concept. I remember at the time, even then I was thinking, man, this is cool, but it was that whole thing of it should be the original four doing this. That would make it that much more special, in my opinion. And, I've said it plenty of times, this was the Peter and Tommy lineup, which wasn't my favorite at all, so that kind of makes it a little hard to watch and listen to at times. But so thoughts from you guys when you first heard about it and when you actually heard it or watched it.
Well, first of all, electronic drum triggers were the best thing to ever happen to Peter Criss.
Yes.
They make his drums sound bombastic on this. And if you look at him, he's barely tapping, and they sound great. So I guess if you're going to play with an orchestra, you think of kettle drums and gongs, and he was able to replicate the power of the orchestra. So that was cool. And I believe this was the first show Tommy ever played. Am I correct?
I think the Eric and Tommy lineup had already happened by this point, and then they switched Eric back out for Peter again for this.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, if it was his first, he was well rehearsed.
Yeah.
It was, because wasn't his first one like one of those private gigs or something? Or,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and I tell you, watching it again after all these years, he looks like he's straight out of a tribute band. His hair didn't look quite the way it does now, and even the makeup seemed a little
on his knees for Black Diamond, and they don't do that anymore. The Ace poses, they don't really do that, but he certainly played with a lot of fire. I guess it's tough with a symphony orchestra behind you not to, but I thought that was good. And as we kind of mentioned off camera a couple of minutes ago before we started, Paul would soon go on that Live to Win tour and pretty much blow his voice out. And but at this time, all was right with the world. Paul still sounded like Paul. He could still hit those notes. And so, overall, in terms of a performance, I thought it was great. And we all know that Alive and Alive 2 were kind of a studio concoction. I'm not real sure how much of this was studio. It seemed like they weren't jumping around as much so that they could be on mic. And in my opinion, I think most of it was probably, including the vocals, was probably live.
Yeah, I think so. The part that made it a little hard for me is, like you mentioned, the drum sound. It wasn't natural enough, and to me that triggered kind of electronic sounding drum does not fit Kiss. I want it to sound the way it did, back on the Alive tour, when Eric Carr was in the band, that raw type of heavy sound of the drums. And and I've complained in the past, during this time Peter would keep that hi-hat so closed, it's like, open it up a little bit, man, like, let it slosh around,
let it splash.
especially when they were doing like Lick It Up. I'm just kind of like, man, this feels boring compared to the way they play it now, But it was kind of fun at the same time to go back and rewatch it and kind of, there was things I kind of forgot about, and just reliving little moments about it. What about you, Luke?
Yeah, a lot of weird things about this. I remember when this album came out, I did not even have any idea that an Alive 4 was coming at all. And then, of course, having bought it, finding out that it was a Symphony thing was cool. And I remember opening it up and seeing that white picture on the inside sleeve and thinking, that's not Ace Frehley. Because, of course, and no idea that there was unrest or that anything had happened at all. Like, okay, either Ace is looking super weird or that is not Ace. As far as the actual Symphony thing goes, I gotta say this isn't even really my favorite, rock or metal Symphony effort. Personally, the Metallica S&M thing I think was a much better executed version of this, but still nonetheless very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of cool stuff that they did on this, and a lot of weird songs, which I really appreciated in the set list. Although, having said that, and I've made this clear in a couple of past episodes, this and the Millennium Concert too, hearing Peter and or Ace play songs not from their era just does not work.
Right. Right.
Oh,
I would agree.
I can't handle it.
And Paul even mentions during the show that something about they tried to do that sooner, but they felt like they were pulling people's teeth by trying to get it put together, almost like the people weren't, that on board with it. And he, mentioned in another country, which I'm assuming probably was New York City or something. I would imagine. So, and I don't remember the total time frame now because it's been so long, but I do remember that whole Millennium Concert was originally advertised, this is a Live 4, it was in the magazines and all that, Live 4, Live 4. Well, all of a sudden we kept waiting and wondering, well, where is it? Where is it? This thing was recorded on New Year's Eve of 2000. Where is it? And then here we are like, well, I guess it would have had to been 3 years later, because around the time this took place, all of a sudden, this is a Live 4, the Symphony, and oh, okay, well, that's different. And what about that whole Millennium Concert? We want to hear that too. And of course, later they finally released it, and then we kind of understand why it didn't really live up to be what a Live 4 became to be. So
yeah.
So let's get on into some comments here.
Yeah, I'll try and get through these relatively quick. There are quite a few, but we'll jump through here. So going back to our Destroyer episode, which, by the way, strangely, is coming up. We're a couple of months away from that being a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Already.
Huh. That's quite mind-blowing. So we got a comment from Robbie Stars here, and he says, I blabbed enough about this album, but I never rated it. To me, some of Destroyer is powerful and huge, then side 2 is mostly poppy and had Kiss's first ever ballad. Seriously, I was never a big fan of this album and still don't really listen to it anymore. I'll give it a 7 though, just because of Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, and Do You Love Me. Yes, it's definitely a historic album for sure though.
Wow. Interesting point of view on that, man. But hey.
I've noticed that actually since we've done that episode and the episodes surrounding it, where where we've gotten input from other people on their opinion of Destroyer, I never in a million years expected so many people to say they didn't really like that album. I had no idea that was a controversial thing at all.
I kind of expected there to be a line of perfect 10 ratings on it and everything,
Well, it seemed like they were a cult band until Alive, and then that was the studio album that every kid had on the school bus.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, in my opinion, the defining album of Kiss. Yeah. How many songs do they still play off of that? I mean, obviously the first album, but in concert, that album is celebrated, know?
And again, I mean, they did lose some people back then when it came out, and maybe that's kind of the mindset some people still have, is they want that, that earlier raw sounding Kiss, which, hey, I love that too.
But depending on when you discovered Kiss, a lot of people I hear now saying, Dynasty's their favorite album.
Right.
So I guess it makes sense.
And we talked about how Double Platinum we've learned has been such a launch pad for Kiss with people. Well, I've just heard someone recently on a video saying that they prefer those versions on Double Platinum over the original.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I watched a podcast today where somebody said that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just awesome, getting all these different points of view that come in and how everyone takes it.
Yep. So speaking of somewhat controversial albums, we'll jump forward up to Killers. On this one, we got a comment from Rain in Adamstown, who says, "Short notice, you can find a beautiful I'm a Legend Tonight cover version by the Norwegian artist Satin on YouTube. My favorite Kiss cover version of all time."
I will look
Absolutely.
that up.
Okay, so speaking of Rain there, good old Rain, he did end up going, I assume I don't even know, actually. Sorry about that if that's not correct. Went through and rated a bunch of the 80s albums. So we'll jump through this. He's put notes on almost all of the songs. So coming up to Lick It Up, he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, this week's album to rate, Lick It Up. I like it. Remember sitting on the school bus reading a review of the album in a pop music magazine. It was the first picture I saw of the Unmasked Kiss. Left the bus and bought the album. Good times. Off topic, is it okay to sample a saxophone solo? I saw Ghost Thursday in Stuttgart, and they did it during the song Miasma. They lost their instrument, but the solo was there. Think about if Kiss would do that."
Never.
No.
Never gonna happen. Come on.
Yeah. Nah. One thing. Did you see the newest episode on the In My Head channel? Someone made a comment on the Kiss opening. "You wanted the best. You got karaoke. The oldest band in the world, Kiss." I think that is pretty funny. Woo!
Yeah, I've seen some pretty harsh stuff that Ralph over there on Almost Human 56, man, he's made some videos recently that he like did cover versions, but you know, bashing all these things that's been in the news. It's they're interesting, they're funny, man. I'll give them that.
You can always count on Vieira for a good laugh.
Yeah.
Yes. So back to Lick It Up, he says, "Another very good album. Perfect production, a worthy follow-up to Creatures. Not one filler on the album, but a few songs that are only good. My rating is an 8, and that is only because from all the albums to The Elder to Asylum, this is my least favorite." So he did put notes on all of these, but we'll say his top 3 here. All Hell's Breaking Loose. Or no, I'm sorry. Geez. I'm looking at the wrong thing. His number 3 was Exciter. He says, "Fantastic opener. It doesn't get any better. Aggressive vocals similar to Danger. My favorite solo on the album." His number 2 was All Hell's Breaking Loose. He says, "One of the best choruses of their career. What a killer groove. Did you ever hear verses like this? No, it's not rap music. Unique. If Look for Your Face is Gene's storyteller moment, then this is Paul's. Mostly I prefer Gene, but this silver medal goes to Paul." His number 1, Not for the Innocent. Says, last but not least, another perfect Gene song. The demo is also great, has a very different feel, but it kicks butt too." He definitely said butt. That's definitely what's there. So he says, "So no time anymore. Have to walk over to a concert hall near my house where many good bands play today. Apparently Jeff Tate was performing songs from the first 5 Queensryche albums. He also says Fifth Angel and the fantastic Eclipse from Sweden and many more were playing. Wish you a great Saturday." So, sounds like a pretty awesome concert.
Sounds like a nice music scene over there, that's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Rain, I don't know if you've ever seen, we're friends with a band called The Hero that are over there. They say they play around Stockholm a lot. So they're some pretty cool guys. We hung out with them in Los Angeles a couple of years ago. Yeah. So coming up to Animalize. Rain also rated that. And it starts with that. Animalize. That's what the comment says. Lick It Up was very good, but I still like Animalize a little bit better. Love the sound. The VHS tape and DVD of this tour is fantastic. And no, the Gene songs are not crap. 5 songs of it on my best of Kiss playlist. I rated a 9. So his top 3 here. In the number 3 spot, I've Had Enough Into the Fire. His number 2, While the City Sleeps, which he notes is fantastic. And his number 1, Heaven's on Fire, which he notes a song for eternity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Unless Ace and Peter are playing.
Yeah, eternity except about 1999 to 2000. So, also rated Asylum. He says, "Another album I cannot live without. Nearly perfect. Radar for Love is good, but it is my least favorite, and that's because I absolutely don't like Led Zeppelin. Can't listen to this band." which I have to say there, I agree, Rain. Never been a fan of Zeppelin myself either. So remember buying Asylum during a lunch break on the day it came out. The cover is different, but really cool. Beautiful memories. Eric Carr. And last but not least, Bruce Kulick is so good. A true guitar hero. I rated a 9.5. His top 3 here, and his number 3 spot, King of the Mountain, which he notes Eric and Bruce. Is number 2, Secretly Cruel. Man, this is total Dress to Kill Gene worshipping. So powerful and sleazy. And then his number 1, possibly the biggest surprise of mine so far, Any Way You Slice It. He says, wow, what a great song. And the ending is another example of how good Gene is as a songwriter. The blues lick.
Just a public service announcement, people. We at Kiss Meets the Podcast do not condone the atrocious comments that come out of some people's mouths regarding legendary bands. Thank you.
Yes. Any way you slice it. Yes. All right. Also did Crazy Nights. Says the songs are great. Bruce Kulick is on peak here. Bruce Kulick on his peak here. I can't read. It's all good. With
he's on his period.
Exactly. Yes. With the Kiss production, this could be one of their top 3 albums. The album is the producer. I mean, why must this album exactly sound like the Heart 1985 LP? I like both albums, but the band's lost its personalities. That said, I listened to it all 2 to 3 months. And every time I wonder why there is no Sword and Stone, Time Traveler, and Shocker, and every time I enjoy it. Weird? I know. Saw them on the Monsters of Rock Festival, 1988, in Schweinfurt, Germany. Again, sorry about the pronunciation there. I'm sure it's not correct. With Iron Maiden, David Lee Roth, Anthrax, Testament, and Great White. Loved the shows with makeup, but this was the best Kiss concert I have ever seen. I missed the non-makeup times. The rating is an 8.
I may be mistaken, but is that the outdoor show?
I think so, yeah.
That's all over YouTube, right?
Yeah.
I forgot that on DVD. I love that show. Sound. That's the one where they accidentally show Gary Corbett on camera, and they weren't supposed to, and he just kind of looks at the camera like.
And it's the one where Paul plays a little like cigar box guitar.
Yeah. God, I always hated those guitars that didn't have the headstock. Geddy Lee played a bass like that. I was like, I always hated the look of this.
I'll always remember, too, we sent that concert to Gino in Sweet Pain, and he loved it. He watched it, but his main comment, other than that he loved it, was the guitar Paul's playing makes him look weak. Like, that's an interesting way to put it, but okay. All right, so Rain's top 3 for Crazy Nights. In his number 3 spot, I'll Fight Hell to Hold You. In his number 2 spot, Turn on the Night. And his number 1, Thief in the Night. And he notes, listen to the WoW version. That's the way how this album could have sounded like. And by the way, WoW is fantastic. And I'm assuming he's talking about Wendy O. Williams there.
Yeah, it's basically an unofficial Kiss album. Right. It is a good one.
Alrighty, moving up to our Carnival of Souls episode, we got a comment from Gianni Ottaviani. Looks like this is regarding Psycho Circus, actually. He says, well, welcome to the show. Psycho Circus was awaited with a lot of interest by me because of the reunion of the original members. Later, knowing that Peter and Ace were merely involved in it was a great disappointment. I give this one a 7. He then gave his listings. Let's see, his top 3 here. His number 3, Raise Your Glasses. He says, anthem song as usual, but catchy. His number 2 was Within, Do Me an Unusual, and A Little Memo from the Dark Side. And his number 1, Psycho Circus. This was instantly a classic, great show opener. The anticipation for me about this chapter of the band was mainly aimed to see them live again for the second time with Ace and Peter, even if the 3D thing was sometimes messy, but I had a great fun. And great ciao from Italy. See you next time.
Ciao.
Yes, ciao. So also congratulations, Johnny, because of your votes and the votes on the comments for the next episode, you guys were actually able to knock Within up into our top 3, and it is now 2. Yes. So Gianni's top 3, Raise Your Glasses, Within, and Psycho Circus, is now the top 3 of the whole thing.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice foreshadowing there.
Hey, don't forget, we still need help on Lick It Up. We need to get Fits Like a Glove up
Yes. So we got some more stuff. We got a few comments on last week's episode, Psycho Circus, or 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure when that came out. We've got Brock McDowell commenting on that episode. He says, Carnival is a 9.7, Psycho Circus a 4.9. But right after this, they cut a track for a Ramones tribute, which is way better than anything on Psycho Circus other than the title track. Great job, guys. Enjoy your reviews. By the way, I give The Elder an 8. It would be better if they did a Resurrection style. That would be cool.
Yeah, I always thought it was, for lack of a better word, wimpy in the production on The Elder. So,
yeah, somebody send a note to Bob Ezrin.
You know, I like that cover of the Ramones song that they did, but I'm sorry, I don't think it's better than anything on Psycho Circus. But
I'm not sure I've heard it.
It's do you remember
Rock and Roll Radio? Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's probably on that little extra disc there, yeah. All right, also, we've got a comment from Rain on the Psycho episode. He says, yes, that's it. Now I know why I do not like this album. Compliment to your guest with the black hat. I assume he's talking about Steve. I don't remember what Steve was wearing. As you know, Destroyer...
Panties.
Yes. As you know, Destroyer is my least favorite of the old Kiss LPs, plus the Paul solo album, and those two together equal Psycho Circus. And exactly the same reasons make me not like Psycho Circus. The drums, the overall production, the style. Destroyer had better songs. The best tracks were In Your Face, It's My Life, and Nothing Can Keep Me From You, and they're not even on the final release. Psycho Circus is a 4. He also gave his top 10. His top 3 here was Journey of 1,000 Years, which he says, nice melodies. Number 2, Psycho Circus. That's a good song. And number 1, Within, finally a killer track, the only one from this album that sometimes makes it to my Best of Kiss playlist, Nuff Said.
Interesting. I personally love the drum sound. That's me. But interesting comments on that.
Got a couple of comments here from Brad Holderman, and he says, sorry guys, since finding your podcast, I don't think to rate the album till your cast comes out, so 7.5 for Psycho Circus. While I realize the actual band doesn't play on all the tracks, the weak link is Peter Criss. Yet another Peter ballad, and not only in the official video, but in concert seems lazy and tired. I had a feeling that relationship would go south real quick. But speaking of Peter, you one of the best illustrates something Paul and Gene never understood, in my opinion. Kiss is best when they share vocals. All 4 of these guys churning out lines is awesome. The biggest drawback of this album, it should have happened in 1977. Screw The Elder, the Psycho Circus is a concept that the young guys could have ran with for years. The title track opens a possible great album and concept. It's not bad, certainly, but for me, there's a lot of, I wish they did it this way to it.
Yeah, I mean, it is something that it seems like they would have done years before.
Yep. Brad also comments here on Alive 4. He says, 8 out of 10. A combination of epic and cringe. Still, it's Kiss live. Pros, a few times not performed live before. I assume he meant songs there, a few songs. Sure Know Something is an underrated Kiss tune. Going Blind are great versions. Surprisingly, the Symphony actually emphasizes the intensity of a few songs like God of Thunder and Black Diamond. Audio is great on the album throughout. Great recordings of the standards as well. Last time, Paul sounded great. Cons, it was obvious the cracks were there. No Ace, the Peter standards. How about something different like Hooligan or Baby Driver? Back to unrecorded stuff. Shandy is one of my worst Kiss tunes. If they wanted to grab something off Unmasked, how about the underrated Is That You? No Elder, it's a symphonic concert. Something off there should have complemented this context greatly. Then Great Expectations. Someone should have reread the lyrics before coming up with the thought of having a choir of young girls on stage.
You just stole my comment.
I kind of was thinking that myself as I watched it. I'm like, And it's that line in the first verse, you see me staring at me, and they like immediately cut to this girl in the crowd that's got Peter's makeup, and she looks like she's at least like, I don't know, 14.
Yeah, Brad says, as a parent of 3 daughters, this just has me shuddering.
I'm sorry I have to disagree with the hooligan and stuff. Those just would not have worked with Symphony. I just don't hear that working at all.
But thought that they should have had some other Peter songs in there, but yeah, hooligan would have been weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Hard Luck Law would have been cool.
That'd be great.
But yeah, I mean, and I'm going to say this because I'll probably forget it if I wait till the end, but as I was listening to the credit, and, you know, they play, you know, I Was Made for Loving You, King of the Nighttime World, just the orchestra pieces. I'm like, man, how cool would that have been if they had released that, where it was just the orchestra playing all of that stuff with what they played along to. I think that would have been cool. Sexy to throw with it or something.
Right. Another thing with the DVD, again, I mean, I guess they kind of would have been ripping off Metallica because they did that with the S&M. You can turn off the orchestra or you can turn off the band.
Oh, wow. See, I've only ever seen that on VHS. So.
Yeah. Interesting feature.
But, yeah, I'm like, so I know, again, it's one of them things, like, I know they have it because they use those clips at the end of the thing. You know, put them out, man. I know, I think it'd be cool to have.
Right. So last comment here we've got from Jay Rucker, and he says, I give a Live 4 a 6.5. The weird thing is my favorite part of this album is Peter Criss. Something I have to always give to this album is this. It's the last time Paul sounded really good on tape. Some facts are it got the number 18 in the USA and number 14 in Australia. This album had no singles and is the only Kiss Live album to not go at least gold. He also gave his list here. His top 3 were God of Thunder, Deuce, and Let Me Go Rock and Roll. Yes. All right. So I think we're ready for some album info. If you guys are good to go.
Rock on.
All right. So Symphony, Alive 4 is the 2003 live album from Kiss, affectionately known as Alive 4. This was released on July 22nd, 2003.
Extravaganza of the hottest band in the world, playing an unforgettable night of Kiss classics with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. Kiss Symphony Alive 4. Over 90 minutes of music on 2 CDs for only $24.98. Plus, order now and you'll get a limited edition Symphony Alive 4 poster. Hear the world's most exciting live band as they deliver an incredible night of their biggest hits, including Strutter, Deuce, Lick It Up, Love Gun, Bed, Rock and Roll All Night. To order Kiss Symphony Alive 4 and the exclusive poster, have your credit card ready and call the number on the screen or log on to MusicSpace.com. Poster free with paid order. Call now. Rush delivery available.
That's the 2-disc edition. Apparently there was also a single-disc edition that was released on October 7th. However, this was recorded back in February of 2003. No listed producer. That's kind of strange and interesting. What happened to Eddie Kramer there? Yes. So as we know here, a lot has happened since Psycho Circus. The originals have broke up again. They did have the Tommy and Eric lineup just for a second, but then they ended up getting Peter Criss back. This was, I believe this happened on the tail end of the Kiss Aerosmith tour, for which they had Peter because the contract required them to.
Yeah.
Let's see, this... Oh.
You said February 2003, so this would have been before the Aerosmith tour. I think the Aerosmith tour was that summer.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure it was 03.
So probably directly preceded it then.
Mm-hmm.
Also, interestingly, did not know this, the live versions of Rock and Roll All Night, God of Thunder, and Lick It Up from this album were featured on the soundtrack of the video game Tony Hawk's Underground.
Wow.
That's weird.
You know what? That's right, because I remember Kiss was in that game. There was like this weird... I never played it, but I remember seeing videos about it and everything, so that's really odd. But
yeah. Okay, so we've got the personnel here, of course, was Paul, Gene, Peter, and then Tommy Thayer. For the first time here, being credited officially as a member of KISS on an album. Then, of course, we've also got the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra with David Campbell, who both composed the orchestra stuff and was the conductor there. The dude with the jean makeup.
Yes. He was wearing white suit with white pumas.
Yes.
And he had the studded KISS shirt. And, you know, for that one night only, he was the 5th member of KISS. Man.
Yeah,
Without doubt.
He did an amazing job.
absolutely. Yep. This, as Jay let us know, this did get up to 18 on the American Billboard, number 18. This has not been certified in the United States, but it actually has been certified gold in Canada.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Americans, come on.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. It's not that weird. Come on, people. All right, so we've also got votes here from my dad and Steve and Rochelle McGowan. Let's see. Let me find it here. Live 4. Yes. Okay. For my dad, the overall rating 6 out of 10. His top 3 for this were Shout It Out Loud, Sure Know Something, and Rock and Roll All Night. And from Rochelle, she ranked this a 10 out of 10. She says, love the use of the symphony and the arrangements that were created for these songs. Her top 3 were Psycho Circus, I Was Made for Loving You, and Black Diamond. Also, Steve here, he says 8 out of 10. A true, genuine live KISS album with no alterations, studio remixes that I'm aware of. When I first got the CD, I was very excited to give it a listen, and I skipped right over the first act of the show, right into the second act, and then into the third. It took me a while to finally listen to the first act, just for the simple reason there was no orchestra, obviously. I enjoyed the CD very much, and the DVD as well. His top 3 were Beth, God of Thunder, and Black Diamond. Fancy.
I was to say, from watching this video, Second Coming, and the stuff from when they toured Australia back in 1980, Australia has some of the best looking women I have ever seen. I just have to put that out there. Australia,
Biogenesis touring there next year.
And I am Prime Minister. I'm announcing that.
Yes.
No, I'm serious. My God. Just watching the symphony alone, like some chicks in the crowd, I'm like...
So you were listening to the songs when you were watching the DVD, right?
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching Better Pairs, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yes. Right.
All right. Man. Got a lot of stuff here. 21 songs.
Jeez, yeah. You know what?
So,
I think I'll lead off if you don't mind. I haven't led for a while.
Go right.
Right on. Oh, man. So my number 21, I think probably won't be surprising to Eli, at least. Let Me Go Rock and Roll, because screw that song. No, I have to say, the whole bottom of my list is just the first act, essentially, just because, yeah, they're pretty standard representations of the songs. They're played okay, but nothing super special. There's no orchestra. It just felt like, oh, these again?
Right.
So my general dislike for Let Me Go Rock and Roll anyway just popped it at the bottom.
RJ, you want to go next?
Yeah, I chose Forever. First of all, this song just does not work without Eric Carr. Just sorry, it doesn't. And in the original version, there was space. There was notes that weren't played, which, I don't know, sometimes you need to let songs breathe. And this one did breathe on the original, and now it was filled up with strings, and you would think it would work, but for some reason it just didn't. I mean, great to have a live version of it, and I guess, again, if you're going to play something, use this, you would think it would work with the string ensemble, but I guess it just wasn't my cup of tea.
Wow, okay. It's funny, because when I was watching that, I thought of Luke, because we were just talking about that at practice last week, on that disc 2 of Sonic Boom, how Eric kind of, lazies that one full. on Forever. And then watching this and the way Peter did it, I was just like, oh my God.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was even worse. So, I agree with you, Luke. I was just about to pretty much rank, those first 6 or whatever by themselves. And I don't know. And to be honest, a lot of this, it was just having to throw numbers on stuff because a lot of this stuff to me was pretty straightforward. Nothing really super, like, that I love or go back and reference quite a bit. So not a lot of, so in that case it made it a little difficult, but my number 21 is Look It Up, because again, Peter playing a song like Look It Up and how boring it sounded, and so it's, come on, man. But thankfully there wasn't no middle section with that Who song at that point.
Right.
Yep. No, I will piggyback on that. Look It Up, my number 20, again, just for the sake of it being Peter. And as much as I wanted to be excited, because I always find that kind of cool when past members return to a band and are willing to play stuff not from their era. And so I'm kind of, I'm interested on how would the original drummer of Kiss, what's his take on something that happened after his time, quote unquote. And I would have been interested more if Peter could still play like Peter used to.
Right.
2003 era Peter did not do very good on Lick It Up. So.
Yeah, and let alone the songs he originally played on.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
We talk about how the situation is today with Paul. It's like we were already at that point with Peter but way back then.
Sure.
So
This is going to be a recurring theme because my number 20 is Shandy. And if you'll recall, when we did Unmasked together, I mentioned my favorite part of that song was right after the bridge. Ooh, yeah, do-do-do-do-do, with Anton Fig and that epic drum fill across the toms. And I remember the first time I saw this, and I'm like, is Peter going to play that? And the answer is a resounding no. And so that kind of ruined the whole thing. Maybe that's stupid to let that one thing ruin it, but that was always my favorite part of the song. It's a serviceable version of Shandy. You can't play Australia without playing Shandy. I get it. Just didn't do it for me. So number 20.
yeah, number 20 for me, Calling Dr. Love. Just again, it's just straight up typical performance of it, and apparently my camera keeps randomly freezing. I apologize for that, but
At least try to make some interesting faces when it freezes. Jeez, yeah, there you go. All right.
I'll just hold a face and hope that it freezes.
Okay, so number 19 for me was Strutter on this, and I think just because even in comparison to the other ones in Act 1, this song's it doesn't really pique my interest that much,
Yeah.
Oh, to me, number 19. Okay, sorry. Psycho Circus. I'm thinking this is the only live version we have of Psycho Circus that they've ever released. I would be correct in that, right?
In the main discography, yes.
Yeah.
Until that Millennium came out.
Okay.
But up to that point, yes, this was the first time.
And I think when they did the Instant Live tour, everybody who went and bought one of those got a live version of it. But, solid performance, but I've just never been a fan of the song. So that's why.
Wait a minute, what the hell are you drinking, Luke?
What? Oh,
It looked like paint in there.
yeah, it is. This is a milkshake from a local place here in Greenville, and apparently they have movie theater cups because it says it's showtime. So, I don't know.
I just see like weird green stripes and all these other weird colors in
Yeah, it's quite tasty.
Well, here we go, matching again. I'm matching you, Luke. Strutter is my number 19 as well. And again, second song of the set, they announce it. Here's Strutter, and then Peter, bloop, 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 and Gene's sitting there like doing this, like he's like pumping it up, and it's like, yeah, but where's that energy coming from the drums? It was so like, oh, I'm sorry.
I want to compare the speed from a Live 1 to a Live 4.
Tell me about it.
Oh geez, we're getting through these really fast. I keep not expecting it. It's my turn. Yes. Number 18, Deuce. Again, just it's not bad. I have nothing to complain about. It's just this one again. Interesting opener, and I don't say that sarcastically. It's good. It worked. Opening with a Gene song. That's a little weird. That just occurred to me.
All right. I'm getting a little worried because I'm not sharing any common ground with you guys. I feel like I need to go back and re-listen. But you're looking at this through a totally different lens than I am. The non-orchestra cuts are not good, and the regular everyday cuts are not good. And Peter's drums really seem to be coming to the forefront. So I guess it's probably good that I'm approaching it a little bit differently. My number 18 is going to surprise you. It's Beth. Yeah, a great way to start Act 2 and introduce I guess they called it the Melbourne Symphony Ensemble, the small string section, but it's not the same arrangement as the record. It's tasteful, and I guess it's a great point to start with the strings and build some energy into the set. Start with that one and then ramp it up, but for some reason, I don't know. Just didn't do it for me. It was like a few things on this album that you've already commented. It falls a little flat for me.
Yeah.
You gotta love typical Peter fashion. I know this is sounding like a Peter bash session already, but he misses his cue at the beginning of the song. Comes out, sits down. They gotta start it over. Oh, it's great. Well, my number 18 is Shout It Out Loud. So getting into the main, set of what that whole show was. I guess being that this is number 18, it would mean that it's my least favorite of the stuff they did with the full symphony. It just, again, like I've never been a huge fan of the live version of Shout Out Loud, and this just kind of really does nothing more for me. So it's like they just kind of slapped it on there just to make it work, since it's one of the staple songs that they had to include. So come up with something to make this work.
17, continuing here, Dr. Love. I really don't have anything else to say about this that I didn't say about Deuce. It's not bad. It sounds good. It's just Dr. Love.
All right. Number 17 for me, Rock and Roll All Night. This is one of the few on the LP that I think just does not benefit from the string section. For what it gains in power, it loses a little bit of its swing and swagger. So again, more power, but at the expense of the dirtiness of rock and roll that song is always kind of represented to me. So there you have it. Rock and Roll All Night, right. Number 17.
Excuse me. My number 17, King of the Nighttime World. Again, it's just... I don't mind the live version, but it's nothing too special for me, like what the orchestra did. The intro where Tommy's doing that drawn out note like they usually do. It's like he had to do it so long because it's almost like they were a little late starting, that it almost started just, the note started dying by the time they came in, so it kind of was that effect. And but other than that, I have to mention that the one lady I think she's playing like a violin, and she's got Gene's makeup on and kind of the curly, God, I swear she looks like Gene.
Yeah.
Just like she's got the hair, and every time I watch, I'm like, God, she looks just like Gene, man. I will find a picture and put her on here.
My number 16 here, Psycho Circus. And this is topping the list of non-orchestra songs for me. Just kind of like RJ was saying there, just because this is the live version. You know, it was interesting because I hadn't heard this one live, or I hadn't until I got this album. So yeah, this was the only one of the non-orchestra ones that was like, oh, all right, cool.
Number 16, we touched on this before, and I was just frantically going through my notes. Oh, actually, I found it. Okay. Great Expectation. This is seldomly, if ever, anyone's favorite Kiss song. But I think this is this the only time they've ever performed it live up to this point? Pretty positive, right? And really the only song in the catalog other than Beth that demands orchestration, but having a kids choir sing this is just creepy. Song about getting laid. It's well scored, and they were very complimentary of the kids and very appropriate with them, so I don't hate it, but again, subject matter and kids singing, it just rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah.
Right. Those kids, 16 years later, they are probably getting laid because they were on that.
Yeah.
They're using their clout. So Holy Match Fest, Luke, number 16 is Psycho Circus also. And I remember for some reason, and I still always get that vibe, is like, it felt kind of weird that they added Psycho Circus to the set. I don't know why, because it was still, somewhat new at the time. Like, 5 years, I guess. But I don't know, it just seemed kind of weird to fit in with all the other stuff, because everything on here is pretty much, other, the older stuff, except for, Forever. But it was just kind of like, oh, wow, they put Psycho Circus in there. And again, never been a huge fan of it live. I just feel like it's missing something that the studio version has.
I've never liked when the rhythm guitars drop out when they go up to do the double lead. I like the lead; it sounds cool, but yeah, it feels like it drops out.
Right, and so yeah, that's it. 16.
15 for me, Beth. Yep, agree with everything RJ you said about that. The arrangement sounds weird. Peter's vocals are horrible. Peter, you sound terrible.
Peter Chris.
Yeah.
The Beatles.
And I feel like this is one that would have better gone with the full orchestra, honestly. I feel like the ensemble wasn't enough. They could have done the whole actual arrangement with the orchestra there. But yeah, that was the one thing I wanted to like it, but as it played, I was just like, man, Peter, jeez.
All right, number 15 for me is Lick It Up. First word I wrote down in my notes was awkward. This song needs groove and not swing, and it sounds very forced for Peter. And he also they performed it way too fast to be able to sit in the groove that exists for it. And Peter, as Peter would do, plays behind the beat, and that kind of doesn't work on this song. It needs to be driving. It's still tight, and there's some cool vamping throughout it, but yeah, no. Nope. Number 15, Look It Up.
15 for me is Do You Love Me? Again, just that boring drum intro, and so slow and lacking, and again, sorry Peter, I love you, you're the reason I started playing drums, but God, this just points out all the bad flaws in his playing at that time. And it's just, you hear Do You Love Me, and even back on that Destroyer and everybody else, and I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah, that's funny. That's my number 14 as well. So we've never matched this much. This is concerning. Yeah, this one and Going Blind highlight more than any of the other songs for me Peter.
Mr. Blackwell's behind you.
Uh,
Yo.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everyone. It's Dan. We haven't seen him in a while either.
Taking Sam's place as the person who passes by going to the bathroom.
He usually goes to the bathroom in
Yeah,
this room, though. So
You.
just
Carpet feels weird. Yes.
a little squishy.
Carry on. Have fun. Yes. Right. Okay, yeah. Do You Love Me and Going Blind, for me, kind of accentuate how terrible those triggers sound. Yeah. Even because it's not even necessarily that I feel like Peter played it horribly. It's just like they could have found some better sounding triggers.
Maybe I've always just been so angry too because he's playing a set of DW drums, which is like, you know, the grail of all drums. So it's like, and then you got to use triggers on. It's like, I want a set of those.
All right, is it my turn?
Yes.
Oh, wow, we're moving quick. Okay, number 14. Number 14 is Calling Dr. Love. You know of my great love for Kiss Alive 2, and nothing will ever beat the version on Alive 2. And Gene just phones in this vocal. It's like he's laying on the couch, taking a nap, and he just opens his mouth and just, I mean, there's no passion behind it at all. Matter of fact, I don't even know how this made it up to number 14. It could have been number 21 for me. But there you have it.
It's like he didn't want to overdo it and, you know, save it for the main part of the show or something.
This is his voice still sounds okay.
Yeah. My number 14 is Let Me Go. Again, pretty much already covered it. It's, you know, it's always been a good song. I enjoy it, live version or studio. And just another typical performance of it. So, kind of, it felt like some of the arrangement was a slight bit different from what they do today, but it's hard to tell. It seems like every time I hear a live version, something a tad bit different they do, but could be wrong.
My number 13 here, Rock and Roll All Night. Yep. The only reason it's even this high in the list is because it was interesting to hear something different in the orchestra parts. But again, couldn't agree more with RJ there. It didn't need that. It was better without it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My number 13 is Strutter. Not quite as dirty and sloppy as you need that song to be. And I don't know, something about Tommy's guitar. You know, they play it right after Deuce. Deuce, his guitar tone was okay, but on Strutter, it just sounded a little too 80s to be authentic. You know, I mean, the guitars were kind of weak on the first Kiss studio album. They didn't have a lot of distortion, and you get used to the tonality of that, and then to get that Marshall crunch with the MXR distortion pedal sound on that song, it just didn't do it for me. It lacked authenticity. So number 13 is Strutter.
All right, number 13 is Love Gun. Actually, you know, even though it's ranked at 13, I think it's one of the better songs that, you know, translated well with the whole symphony treatment. You know, of course, Paul still flying over the crowd doing that thing. And just those little notes and stuff that the symphony would add in kind of helped it out. It was one of the better, I guess, exciting parts of the DVD watching. It was kind of like pay full attention to this song. You know, other songs I'd kind of find myself just sort of looking on the phone at stuff here and there, you know, whatnot. But that was definitely one that catches you.
Right. Number 12 for me, I Was Made for Loving You. Another one here that just, it's high up because it was interesting to hear it with an orchestra, but it just didn't need it. This song is just so disco, you know what I mean? And even though they rock it up a little bit when they play it live, which I do like a lot, disco and orchestra just not necessarily the two ingredients, you know what I mean?
I'm going to wait till we get to when I do the song, because I have a slightly different take on that, but okay. All right, number 12, God of Thunder. Another one that benefits from the orchestration. But once again, I'm going to take my comments back to when we reviewed Kiss Alive 2. God of Thunder on Kiss Alive 2 was played much faster than the studio version. And when I hear the song without the speed behind it, it tends to drag. So it actually makes it lose a little bit of the power of the orchestra.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number 12.
My number 12 is Rock and Roll All Night. Again, I've said it before when we did Alive 3. To me, no live version of this song matches the first Alive. I mean, that's just the quintessential version, which is why that's the one played on radio. And again, I agree what you guys were already saying. Didn't really need to be touched by the orchestra. They could have just turned around and played it without the orchestra again, and it is what it is. But that's really it. Number 12 for that one.
My number 11 surprised even me. Great Expectations for me on this one, and I'm fairly certain I was pretty vocal on the Destroyer episode. This is one of the few Kiss songs that I just do not like. I'm not sure that I would say hate, but it's not too far ahead of that.
Nobody's favorite.
Yes. But I didn't mind it on this. And now, given when I reviewed this again to rank this, I listened to the album, I didn't watch the DVD, so I actually at the time didn't even know that it was kids on the stage, so my ranking wasn't, I guess I didn't take that into account. But purely sound-wise, I was impressed how well they were able to pull it off. I liked Gene's lyric changes that he made to reference specific members of the band and things like that. And I found myself enjoying it a lot more than the Destroyer version.
Yeah, that was the demo version that he sang, which I thought they should have left it that way on the album. But
number 11 for me, we're to number 11, right?
Yep.
We're flying.
Yeah, this goes to 11.
Black Diamond. So, I mean, here's the deal. I mean, I know you guys didn't like the non-orchestra cuts, but timeline is everything. Tommy's new in the band. Hearing Tommy play songs off the first album, kind of meaningful for me to see how he's going to do it. We kick off the record with Deuce and Strutter. And so by the time we get to Black Diamond, I guess I just wanted to hear that song without the orchestra. And for that reason, it lost a little ground for me. I think that song's so dramatic it doesn't need any additional orchestration. So for some reason I was just like, would have loved to hear it just straight, see what Tommy could do with it, and leave it at that. So that's number 11. Nothing wrong with it, just is my taste.
And one of the first times, as far as I remember, that Peter started doing the, Paulie's got his thumb, towards the end, and now Eric does that pretty much every show now. But some people don't realize Peter actually did it first. Number 10 is Shandy. This wow, just now getting into the second set of songs here on my list, I realized.
I think number 11. 11?
Huh? Oh, crap. Well, I just spoiled number 10.
Start the episode over. Wait.
Number 11 is Deuce. Hey, I mean, I liked the way it worked on here. I thought they played it very well. I always love this when they open the shows with Deuce. It's always that, between that or Detroit Rock City, but something about Deuce, and especially in this scenario, I thought it always sounded great. Especially as you start it and that low hum that they do, and it just stands out so well on this recording. even on the DVD. It's just just already sets that mood, and I thought it was one of the better performances of Deuce. And wow, according to my list, that takes out the whole first act there already.
So my number 10 on here, Forever. Yep, lots of things that I did not care for. It's high up here just because I wasn't expecting it. The one I found myself mostly ranking songs high on this for their unexpected status. I should have thought that sentence through a little better. Anytime a song surprised me, I was like, "Oh, cool!" That one will go a little higher. Yeah. For the actual execution, meh. Peter's playing, The vocal harmonies didn't sit well with me, and I also found myself really missing the crunch of the electric guitar in parts of it. Now it being a ballad, you would think that it would work acoustically better than it did, but I kind of liked having the electric guitars swell up and then be a part of the chorus, making the chorus sound big. And here it relied too heavily on those vocal harmonies, and
All right. My number 10, and I'm going to read this verbatim, just so I don't miss anything. Do You Love Me? This song has a great groove that has gotten lost over the years when they played it live because they've sped it up too much. But this version actually leans right back into that original groove. And it really gives, because it's a tad slower and in the groove, it gives the orchestra a pretty good chance to embellish. It's not one of those songs in the catalog that you would expect them to add full orchestration to, but oddly, I think it works really, really well. So Do You Love Me is number 10.
Yes, I agree. No idea what my number 10 is going to be.
Sure, I don't...
The Australian national anthem machine. We covered enough of it earlier. It's lacking things, and I'll just leave it at that.
My number 9, Shout It Out Loud. We're getting back into the area here, kind of like you said, Eli, where I'm just kind of throwing numbers on things here. Cool to hear it with the orchestra, but overall, it's Shout It Out Loud.
All right.
Yeah.
My number 9 is Love Gun. The strings certainly add a little bit of dramatic effect to this one, but it's a trade-off. You get the dramatic effect, and it takes away a little bit of the punch, I feel. And probably Peter's drumming takes away some of the punch, too. Although, when the show first starts, I actually think that the triggers add a little bit of bombast, but then as the show goes on, I don't know, it kind of goes away. But anyway, I think the strings might add more than they subtract. So for that reason, Love Gun does get inside the top 10 at number 9.
Nice. Number 9 is, for me, is God of Thunder. Yes, I agree. It definitely adds to the atmosphere of the song and the whole orchestration. I actually like that. There was no drum solo. I kind of like it better the way they do that little part, and then it goes into I am the Lord, like it would after the solo. I like when they do that. Sometimes I feel like it makes a song better, and I thought that was definitely the case with this. And I don't know how much cooler would it have been just for the hell of it, like if all the orchestra members that had Gene's makeup on, if they all stood up and spit blood at the same time that he did. They have blood all over their violins and whatever instrument they're playing.
That would have been a mess.
Oh, man.
My number 8 here, King of the Nighttime World. And I've got this one higher up, again, because of a bit of surprise. speaking of as far as just the discography goes, it's been a minute since we've heard this song. I think they performed it probably before this, but since they didn't release any recordings that we have reviewed in this, I can't even tell you the last time. Was it Alive 2 the last time we've heard this song, if we're just going by what we reviewed? So, yeah. So I enjoyed that. Although I have to admit, kind of like what you were talking about with that note at the beginning going longer, again, since I wasn't watching the DVD at first, I wasn't even sure what I was hearing. I was going to that. And then the song started, I'm like, oh, right.
Right.
Yeah, especially, like, whatever reason, when they decided to open shows with that song, like, especially on the Dynasty, and that's the first thing you would hear, it just didn't work for me.
Let's see here. What number are we at? Number 8.
Yes.
Let me go rock and roll. Sorry, Luke. When I heard it, I'm like, what's not to like about this? It's kind of an extended version of the song. Tommy solos very Ace-like, but not Ace-like at the same time. He puts a little bit of his own character into it. And that awesome breakdown and kind of the riff vamping in the middle. I mean, I just kind of thought it was really incredible. Sorry, for me, it was a really way to breathe a whole new life into the song. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Let me go rock and roll. Number 8. Damn the torpedoes.
Don't worry, RJ. He doesn't like it when we play it either.
It bores me. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad song. It's not my.
Oh, my camera had froze when I was shaking my head, so I had to keep shaking it, waiting for it to freeze. Oh, number 8, Black Diamond. Yeah, part of it. I think with all the points. I mentioned the thing about Peter and Paulie's got you under his thumb. So nothing else I needed to say about that song.
Number 7 for me, Detroit Rock City. I thought this was a cool way to open up the full orchestra thing, since they were, essentially starting the show over at that point. Of course, I've always thought Detroit was a great way to open the show. So just right away having that da-da with the orchestra is like, whoa. Mm. Yeah.
Okay, so number 7, right?
Yes.
I was made for loving you. And here's why I say this. Anything with a disco beat at 96 to 108 BPMs beats per minute sounds good with strings. It just, all those disco songs from the 70s, Donna Summer, etc., all had orchestration. So, in my opinion, wow, here's a disco song with strings. The orchestra sounded right at home on this. There's the little viola and violin flourishes, the little accents on the chorus, and then the soaring string package on the bridge that wasn't there originally. So I just thought, in terms of complementing and adding this to the song, it finally made the song complete. So yes, the Kiss Disco song has always been a problem for some people, and some people like when they rock it up. But in this case, I think to really kind of harken back to the golden age of disco and what made those songs authentic, to hear those things we had never heard in the song, to me, was able to kind of elevate it right up there. So number 7.
My number 7 is Sure Know Something. and thought it was cool to see this one pulled back out, because I don't think we had really heard it since Unplugged, really, to be honest. They may have performed it in those conventions, but again, as far as stuff that we had gone over and reviewed, but thought it was a really cool version, like the Unplugged, but it did definitely add, having that ensemble playing with them, and yeah, I mean, now I forget it, and I just watched it this morning. Did Paul play the solo, or did Tommy do it?
I'm not sure, actually. It sounded whoever it was.
Right, yeah. Right. So I'm thinking it was Paul, but I totally don't remember that section now. But yeah, another good performance. Sure knows something. Again, I've always loved that song. Studio, Unplugged, whatever version. So.
Yep, that's my number 6. Because of course, yeah, agreed. That one, I've always liked that one. Hearing the ensemble behind it was interesting. Again, I'm not entirely sure personally that it needed it again, but it wasn't bad. Liked it.
Well, it's nice to be on the same page with you gentlemen. Number 6, sure know something. Always thought it was a great pop song, and thought it kind of demanded that late 70s string orchestration. In this case, not really disco-like, but more like Barry White and the Love Unlimited Orchestra kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so now we've got a version that has it. So for me, it's a perfect 10. And I also think they were pretty jazzed to play anything off Dynasty. Yeah. Because that's the album that kind of brought them there. So they seemed excited to play it. There seemed to be a little bit of passion, and they really, they kind of bought into it. Nobody phoned that song in. So totally agree with you both.
Absolutely. My number 6 is Going Blind. Again, just not a horrible performance of it. I mean, I have preferred something else probably. Like, I believe it was before this song where Paul asks who owns the Elder, and everyone, including Tommy, I do. Well, this song's not off the Elder. This is is Going Blind. But again, it probably didn't need the ensemble, because again, I'm totally blanking on what the ensemble even did on the song. But needless to say, just going by more of the basically acoustic version of it again, it was a cool performance of it. I definitely liked how it came out on this performance.
Indeed. Get out of my head. Going Blind, number 5. Yeah, again, like I mentioned earlier, as soon as the drum thing that starts the song came in, I was like, oh, Peter. Oh, the triggers sound terrible. But other than that, again, we haven't heard this song since Unplugged, and not since Hotter Than Hell before that, because this isn't even on live, right?
Right.
So, crazy. I did not expect the song at all, and that's why it's up so high for me, for sure.
I believe Unplugged was the first time they even performed it live.
Yes.
As far as an official setting.
Let's see, where are we? Number 5 now, right?
Yes.
Okay. My number 5 is Detroit Rock City. When I first heard this disc back in 2003, I was like, wow. They just improved on what was already one of the world's most perfect rock anthems. I didn't think it was possible. I think strings on this song were logical. When you think of, hey, we're going to play with an orchestra, I wonder what we're going to play, I think you automatically think, man, what would strings do to Detroit Rock City? So, I mean, again, crazy good, and I think it's a perfect 10.
Well, I'll be damned. Already we finally matched. Detroit Rock City is my number 5.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was so perfect that it always kind of was like, man, I wish like that would have been the actual beginning to the show instead of that whole, regular set and all that, because it just felt, and like you mentioned too, Luke, that it's like they were starting the show over again.
Right.
But yeah, as soon as that, that first blast comes with the full orchestra, with the band and everything, it's, man, I just every time I hear that still, I mean, I just pretty much get goosebumps because it's so full and, you know, loud and bombastic, which of course is Kiss. So, yeah, just really cool. I love the part when they're getting ready to go to the solo and the strings are doing that little
Right.
My number 4, God of Thunder. I won't really add anything here. You guys covered everything there. Just, yeah, the strings really did it for me on that one.
My number 4, and if you're playing along at home, you're probably saying, geez, it's a couple of songs that really got panned by Eli and Luke, and RJ hasn't mentioned them yet. How can that be? So yeah, here's one of those dramatic disagreements, and that is Deuce. My number 4 is Deuce. Here's the deal. Go back and watch the show again. We've been complaining. Oh, there's my phone. Let me shut that off. We've been complaining about Peter, but it's the first song he played, so he was well rested. So I think we got a lot of swing at him on this one. I really do. I thought he played this one with a lot of fire. It's the first time I heard those triggered drums. There was a boom boom, and so yeah, for whatever reason, when that started the record, I'm like, wow, Gene song, classic song, a little bit different, and Peter, in my estimation, on that song was hitting all his marks, so that's why it made number 4.
They had the triggers turned up for that.
They really did, didn't they?
No, I mean, I like it. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad version, but it's cool. And now, again, comparing it to other versions we have.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Number 4 for me is I Was Made for Loving You. And I was kind of surprised that, you know, this song ranked that high for me on this. Because, you know, versus Alive 3 where I ranked it, you know, fairly low. But this time, you know, and I agree with what you were saying, RJ, because I think that's why this ranked number 4, because of what the orchestra did. And it felt like there was a bit of, you know, a good amount of energy that they performed it with. And, you know, other versions I've heard were just sounded kind of boring and laid back. And again, with the whole Dynasty thing and being in Australia, I think that's another reason why. But yeah, I was really digging what the Symphony brought to this version. And again, you know, Paul sounded great on it as well. You know, he sang it almost. I thought he sang it better than the Alive 3 version, in my opinion. Because I felt like on Alive 3 he was trying to overdo it too much, but here I felt like he had it right where it needed to be. But yeah, I mean, such a really good version, and it's probably one that I would probably start going back to more often than I ever have, because, you know, like I say, honestly, unfortunately, I don't put anything on from this album that much, but I think, you know, this will be one of the tracks that I definitely start kind of paying more attention to again.
They don't
down
end
the road,
song
so.
like we do on this version, do they? Dang it.
No.
I bet 2 or 3 hours one night trying to find Kiss ending I Was Made for Loving You the way Sweet Pain ends it, because we were both convinced we had heard it before, but we never did find a version of it.
Really? How do you end it?
There must be some odd, like, you know, alternate universe that we both exist in, because...
Yeah. It's kind of instrumentally, I suppose, the chorus riff, but without singing on it, and then it ends with the, you know, do 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 do. Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah. Weird.
Because even after the solo, we usually go back to the do do do, but they usually just go, I was made for love.
Oh, that's weird.
Kiss, you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to do it our way.
Do it the way you recorded it the first time, dang it.
No, yeah, so that was it. Number 4 for me.
Number 3 for me, Black Diamond. Again, enjoyed what the orchestra did with this one. Interesting to hear this one not ending. I kind of feel like maybe they should have switched this one with I Was Made for Loving You. You know, this one usually fits well at the end of a show, so it was weird to me that the show kept going after that.
True.
Okay, number 3, King of the Nighttime World. Probably my favorite Kiss song anyway. And I just think a great orchestral arrangement, which really adds to the drive and the power on this one.
I agree. When it comes to the studio version, man, I love that song. The bass line and everything. But all right, number 3 for me is Forever. And I was kind of the same way. Like, oh man, cool. They pulled something out, from that era again, and again, it was kind of like, oh, how's Peter going to play this? And
yeah,
even though that was kind of a letdown. Yes, it is still number 3 for me. It was just, it works so well with that ensemble, and because hell, it's basically written for that. So yeah, just another great performance as usual. Another great Paul vocal performance as usual too. So.
Number 2 for me, Love Gun. Personally, I felt like this was the best use of the orchestra throughout the whole thing. Close between Love Gun and Detroit, I think. But more than any other time while listening, Love Gun kind of pumped me up.
All right.
That was intentional.
I missed that one. That was so subtle.
All right, jeez.
All right, number 2 for me is Shout It Out Loud. And again, I know, you guys did not have this one as high. I got to say, I think it's perfect. I think of all the orchestration written this was the most tastefully scored orchestration on the whole project. And when I heard it, I thought it was so wonderful. I wondered how this song could have existed without it. Much like we were saying with I Was Made for Loving You and Sure Know Something, where they just enhanced the song greatly. I think that's what the orchestration did on Shout It Out Loud.
Of all shows and performances they did of this, why did they not have a piano for this song? That's what it's missing from the album version. It's like, come on, you should have had a piano there, or trigger it on Peter's drums. Boy, my top 2 are out there, I'll tell you that. But hey, I guess that's the way the cookie crumbles. My number 2 is Beth.
Wow.
And I really love this version. And again, part of the reason I love it is because the thing that happens at the beginning with Peter missing his cue. That's funny as hell. But I like the fact that we're finally get a live performance of him doing it without that backing tape, that sounds like it's from the 70s, and playing with that ensemble definitely just brings that song to life. And next to the acoustic version that they did for Phantom, that version of it, this is probably my second favorite version, next to that original acoustic Phantom version. But thought it was cool, Peter brings out the roses like he does and hand them to those girls and stuff, and he was definitely into that performance. One of the better performances that he's done of that song for me, versus what I had seen him do on the recent tours, let alone even Dynasty era. So thought it was good. It just definitely caught me at the time.
Yeah. My number 1, again, a surprise even for me, wasn't expecting it, Shandy. And while I definitely agree this is not the best performance of this song, the ensemble did okay, but, potentially this song, I feel like this one is another one that could have benefited from a full orchestra. Number 1 for me, again, because of the unexpected quality. And again, I know it's in Australia, so of course they played that one. But again, it's been so long since we've heard this song. I remember when I bought the CD, that was the biggest thing I was looking forward to. As I looked down the track listing and saw Shandy, I was like, "What? They did Shandy?" You know? So that still kind of excites me even now when I listen to it, only because it's just, for me at the time, I thought it's so weird that they did that one of all of them.
Right. Okay. My number one is Going Blind. Again, I ranked this one as a perfect 10 because I originally did a 1 through 10. I don't think anything on the album fell below a 5. I just thought that, we always refer to the unplugged version. And we always say how that kind of ripped Hotter Than Hell, that version to shreds. But I just think, even though we love the unplugged version, the strings on this just make it more dramatic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it just came to my mind, another song that would have, well, the unplugged version rips it to shreds, but had they have done it with this orchestra ensemble, Coming Home, I think that would have been another killer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Missed opportunities. Well, my number one is Great Expectations.
Wow.
We're all over the road, aren't we?
Yeah.
I love it.
A little bit of common ground and then way all over the place on everything else.
Yes.
I think a lot of it because I watched it this morning and, I wrote down each song as it started, and then right after I was done watching it, I immediately went and started ranking them, and I think it was just from that fresh view and listen that some of that stuff caught me the way it did. And and yes, Great Expectations isn't my favorite song, but I've always liked it, and I like how it's kind of different and the stuff he's talking about. But then the fact that he's doing the lyrics the way he did it on the demo, I immediately caught that and was like, oh man, this is cool. He's doing it that way, and it makes it more about the band than just him. And yeah, like we were saying, I kind of got the weird, seeing it again, some of the images, and you got the kids up there, but even though that was a good touch, but I get it though with the content of the song, but I thought it definitely worked well with the kids up there. One thing I would say about it is, towards the end, after, where he says, well, listen, and then it goes into the you've, because even on the album, it, you've got great. I think he should have just let the kids do that, not because he was singing it with them. And I like he should have just let the kids have that part, and, it was nice and big and everything. But, and again, yeah, first time they had ever performed the song, and, I thought they pulled it off well, and it was cool. And like I said, those kids, 15, 16 years later, they're probably still talking about it to this day. And it's something they're going to tell their kids and grandkids. And hey man, we were on stage with Kiss singing a song.
Singing a song about getting laid.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the way it came out for me. That for this, man, it caught me that way, and I really liked this performance of the song, and it was really cool. It was one of the things that I was most shocked and excited when it came on was, oh my god, Great Expectations, cool. And it was like, to me, and I'm sure this isn't going to be a agreeable comment, but to me this was the song that was best thing for the whole purpose of the show, as far as the symphony and the orchestra. I mean, it's just made for it. I mean, there's plenty of it on the album version, but it works so well live. And so that's enough, I'll say, for that.
All right, so that's it then, eh?
You watch Luke type in the
Yes,
story.
I'm trying to get.
You see what his fingers can do.
Trying to get that done. There were a ton of ties.
Yeah, of course. I know our lists were all over the place, but man, that's what I like. And again, that was just what came for me as far as that fresh viewing. Had I had just done this, with trying to do it from memory from where the last time I listened to the thing was, hey, I'm sure it would have been a completely different, list for me. But I know just between us three, and I'm, pretty excited to see what everyone else is going to say about the album and how it ranks up. So let's get into overall rankings real quick. And because unfortunately we're kind of on a tight schedule today, so we'll try to get this wrapped up here fairly soon.
My overall, I think I gave this one a 6.5. So for me, this is another one of those kind of polarizing albums where it just doesn't feel super special to me, other than the orchestra, of course, which I can only imagine is the only reason they did a live 4 at this point, because all other things that were going on don't make sense at all for a live 4 to happen here. The Peter and Tommy era of all things, they hadn't just done an album or anything particularly exciting. It almost felt like a grab at staying relevant in a way, except for the orchestra. The orchestra now, if the opportunity came along to do an orchestra and then somebody was like, oh, we should make that into a live 4, that makes perfect sense. However, I feel, and this is just a personal preference, when it comes to mixing orchestra and rock or metal, I feel like it works better with the dark, broody stuff. It makes it more mysterious. It enhances the epic amount. And since, Kiss didn't choose a whole lot of their dark, moody, epic stuff, they did their hits, which who could blame them? But I feel like it would have worked better for me personally if it had been more of the dark stuff. That's why I liked Black Diamond and God of Thunder and Love Gun. The orchestration on those so much was because those are more in the vein of what I would expect. So that's the only reason I think this one didn't get super high for me. Nothing wrong with it. I really don't have any huge complaints. It just didn't stand out like I feel like it should have.
It's funny you say, because now, I get more things popping in my head, like you were saying with the darker stuff, like, Unholy and even Mr. Blackwell would have been a great one to finally put out live to see how it would have sounded, and things like that. I totally agree with that. RJ?
I'm torn, because when I first heard the record, it was at a time where, we weren't in the internet era really yet, and Kiss was not as much a part of my daily life as it is now, and I didn't know it had been released, and it was a friend of mine actually ripped it, a guy I worked with, and gave me a ripped copy, and said, you need to listen to this. And I remember driving in my Jeep, and just that first listen, and I don't think I was really aware of any other rock band now we know Styx has done stuff with orchestras, but at the time they hadn't. So at the time, if you had asked me what I thought, I would have said it was a perfect 10. Now, hindsight and everything else and all the other bands who have done this it falls down the ladder a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to go quite as low as Luke, but I'll say it's a solid 6.
Well, we're all pretty close then, because I'm actually giving it a 6 myself. So 6.66
right.
and a half.
Yeah.
Oh God, I just lost it. Let's see. Remember, so when the talk started happening about them doing this, this was at least, I don't know, 2-3 years, I'm thinking, before they actually did it, possibly, that the talk was out there. And then all of a sudden, Metallica does it. So then, by the time Kiss finally done it, it did kind of feel like it was less special, and it was almost like, oh, they're copying Metallica, so to speak. And and again, as I said at the very beginning, it kind of felt less special because Ace wasn't a part of it, and it felt like it should have been the original 4, because when they were talking about it, it was still the original 4. So that was making it, building more excitement. Like, oh man, this is going to be awesome, and how's this stuff going to pull out, and shock me, whatever, but and I'm the same way. I don't recall, when I actually bought it. I know I got the DVD before anything. Always thought it was kind of odd that they put the Symphony performance on both discs. Like, the first disc is just the Symphony performance and the documentary, and then the second disc you got the full concert the way it went. Always thought that was kind of odd why they did it that way, but for any instance though, it just comes in as a 6 because I agree that it doesn't hold a candle to a live 1, 2, or 3. This and the Millennium and Vegas, all those to me are all just kind of, I don't know, filler. Something to fill the contract, requirements and stuff. Here's an album.
Put out another greatest hits album.
Yeah.
Pretty much greatest hits, except it's live and with orchestra on it. Something extra. I think it's definitely more of a visual thing to experience instead of just listening, but whichever way you choose. So I mean, yeah, give it a 6. That's just really all there is to it. I did. I didn't think to pull out the vinyl, but I did have Tommy sign my copy of the vinyl at the expo a few years ago.
Nice.
So at least have one signature on there.
Peter's not going to want to sign it after he hears this episode.
Maybe I can get David Campbell somehow.
That'd be cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what he's doing nowadays.
All right. You guys ready for the rankings? I think I got it figured out.
Yeah, very much so.
Alrighty.
All right. So I know we don't usually have a huge amount of input on the live episodes, but by God, guys, please get in here. We had 4 ties. Get those out of here. Ugh. Hey, Daddy. So our dead last place for this, even though there are 21 total songs, is 17th place, which is somewhat surprisingly Lick It Up. Yeah. Again, Peter. All Peter. 6th place, Rock and Roll All Night. Yes. 15th place, Calling Dr. Love. Right after that, in 14th place, Psycho Circus. Starting our row of ties, tied for 13th place is Strutter and Do You Love Me. Tied in 12th place, Great Expectations and Let Me Go Rock and Roll.
Oh, God.
I knew you weren't going to like that one. 11th place, Shout It Out Loud. Tied in 10th place, Shandy and Forever. Kind of interesting there.
On.
Tied for 9th place, King of the Nighttime World and Detroit Rock City. Yeah, I know, weird. Pretty much nobody that voted on this agreed with any. In 8th place, Deuce. 7th place, Love Gun. In 6th place, Beth. Are you guys starting to wonder which ones got up in the top 3? In 5th place, Going Blind. In 4th place, God of Thunder. Sorry about that, Gene. That's out of the rankings for this album. In 3rd place, yeah, I know.
Wow.
Actually, both. I think the number. Yeah, this is surprising. Okay, number 3, I Was Made for Loving You. Number 2, Sure Knows Something. Yeah, Dynasty comes back with a vengeance. And in number 1, who would have guessed it, for all the Peter bashing we did in this Diamond.
Pedal.
Wow.
Pedal gets a gold medal, a first place for a lot.
Another. Well, is it his only or second first place?
other than his solo album, obviously. Yeah, he did get a medal for Black Diamond once before, but it was second place. So yeah,
His last opportunity, and he gets the
Wow.
man.
Beatles over there just saying, "Screw you guys." But my singing was on point in that song I sang part of.
Exactly. He's
Oh.
So we did it
That
with
was-
a somewhat surprising 7.1 average out of 10. A lot, most of the people actually, besides us three, gave this a higher rating overall. And if you guys remember, Rochelle even gave it a 10 out of 10. Yeah, so that drove that up to 7.1. So not a horrible score on that one. In the overall everything, that does sit it. I lost it. Where did it go? Here we are in 18th place out of 25. That's with several ties in there too. We've done 31 albums now. It is sitting between Crazy Nights in Asylum, which are tied for 17th place, and Killers, which is in 19th place. So interesting stuff there.
wow. What in the world is next? I'm lost at this point. with
Yes,
the
Sonic
discography.
Boom, and we are separating the two discs since it's not, unlike this, which was one album across two discs. We're going to do Sonic.
Wow, so we jump
Quite a
ahead
lot.
6 years to to the next one to be. Wow, Sonic Boom already. I hate to say, but man, this original discography, we're outdone.
I did work up a list of extras that we can get into after that. You'll have to take a look at it there, Eli. I'll go ahead and send it into the chat here. I got everything basically, and it's huge. It'll do us
Okay.
for the next few years if we do everything. We'll be doing.
Yeah, I like to hear that. But, well, hey, so come on, people, let's get these ties broken. As always, let's get the word out there. But we do thank everyone again for watching. RJ, man, it's always fun to have you on
Thanks,
here.
man.
It's always a blast. Hopefully we can get you back on at
Sure.
some point. I'm not sure, what you might want to do next, but hopefully we can definitely get you back on.
I'll take
we
a
love
peek at the
having you.
discography and see what maybe might really light my fire, and I'll let you guys know. I would love to come back on. A lot of fun.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. And make sure you guys go check out RJ's spot, villageradio.net,
Yes.
right? Alrighty. So leave your comments for Sonic Boom Disc 1 and 2. Just to clarify, in case some of you may not be too sure about that, what we mean by Disc 2 is they include the disc where they re-recorded a bunch of the classics, which they had also previously released under a different name over in Japan. So it's basically the same thing, just different releases.
You know what?
So
I think I included that in the extras because I forgot about that. So disregard that one. But yeah, two episodes, Sonic Boom Disc 1, and then the following week Disc 2. Yeah.
yes, so be sure to go ahead and get your input in for both discs, and let's get those ties broke once again, and keep spreading the word. We do appreciate all the input, and that'll do it. So until next week, we
Rock
will
on.
see you later.
David Campbell and the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. Rock stars, definite rock stars. Let's hear it for the MSO. Show them what it sounds like at a rock and roll concert. The Australian Children's Choir. Oh yeah! And Mr. David Campbell, who we couldn't have done this without.